All right, welcome back to part two of the author world. It is such a pleasure to be back with you. I know we have some authors here that are already authors and some that are looking for improvement, taking their results to another level. So you are definitely in the right place. And we had our little pre-show dialogue today with the wonderful Vladdy and Roddy and Kayla as they were sharing some of their own insights. And as you may or may not know, part of our team on Dynamic Destinies includes authors as well. We have Vladdy, who's written some books, and Kayla, that has written a few books as well, and which is fun. I'm wondering when Roddy's going to write a book, but I don't want to encourage that because he's a busy guy. He's doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. So yesterday, when we had our class here together, Roddy said something that's what I like to call a seed planting. And here's what he said. We're talking, oh, Bill's working on a second book. Awesome. And so what Roddy said was, Peggy will probably have another one written by this evening. And that sort of little seed got planted. Now, I had a very busy day yesterday, and of course, we did our webinar in the afternoon from 2 till about 3:15, and we finished up, and then I had to do a couple errands, and I was back at the house, and I took my laptop, I got into some sweats, and I sat on the sofa in the living room. And I was feeling a little tired because I had started meetings with clients yesterday morning at 7 a.m. And then an idea popped in my mind, and the idea was to create a book for you to give to you that has a lot of information, very valuable information to help you create success. And today we're talking about creating success as an author as it relates to revenue generation and earnings and things like that. So last night I wrote a 63-page book called The $1,000,000 Author Blueprint, and I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you. So this is something I want to show you how you can take an idea. Now that was 4:17 yesterday afternoon. Now Roddy is 5 hours ahead of me. He was way ahead of me as far as time is concerned. And I started texting him, telling him I had this idea, but no one else knew. And so I wrote the content. Then I contacted a gentleman that I use who does design work for me. And I asked him if he would be willing to design this. And I knew for him, he was in bed. So I thought when he wakes up, he's going to see this email from me or this message from me asking him if he'll design the content of the book that I wrote. I wrote the content and he designed the cover and then did all the interior design. I wrote the content. I told him I wanted the picture of me with JoJo in there. That's one of my two adorable little doggies. And oops, there's a problem loading. Well, we'll have to fix that problem loading. And let's just do a refresh it again. Anyways, we are going to give you this book. I'm going to give it to you today. There's going to be a link where you can simply download it. And it includes things like building your author brand, crafting a bestseller from writing to marketing, leveraging multiple income streams, unlocking success through collaboration and partnerships, monetizing personal development content, creating evergreen digital products for long-term success, scaling your author business to new heights, taking inspired action and breaking through limits, creating your ideal life with book-based ventures, and your next chapter starts now. So all of that for you as my gift for you for showing up. So you guys will be able to access that. And thank you, NECA. I appreciate that. And so, but what's most important, thank you, Roddy, for posting the link. What's most important is not, reading it or downloading it. It's following through. And this is the thing that you're going to find is that follow through is really essential. Now, Kayla mentioned before we started the call today that her and I got on a flight to LA about a week and a half ago. And she made a decision. It was a 5-hour flight. Well, we flew Ottawa, Toronto to LA, and the LA flight was 5 hours. And she made a decision to write her next children's book on the plane. And I, of course, was working on some of my doctorate studies. And so she did that. I did my work. And by the time we landed, she had her book written and I had completed a bunch of lessons. But, I want you to understand that getting things done, getting stuff done really just means moving into action. It may not be perfect. In fact, you may read that book that I just created for you and look at it and say, oh, there's spelling errors. There might even be some stuff that was repetitive. I read it over twice last night before I sent it to the designer. But that's okay. There may be some spelling errors in there. I don't think there are because I checked it and spell checked it. But nonetheless, it's there. You have to be willing to be vulnerable as an author. You have to be willing to get your stuff out there in the world. And if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. In fact, I had another private meeting today at noon with a client of mine who wrote a book. And one of the things that he said to me is that his greatest fear is what other people will say. And that's a very common fear within authors. And it's not that the fear necessarily goes away, but you can manage it. And you can manage it by just moving past it, not looking at it, as I mentioned. That's what Wayne Dyer used to do. He did not look at bad reviews and just let it go. You have to understand you cannot please all the people all the time. All right. Even with products, programs, offerings, and things that you do your best. I think it's important to do your best, but you cannot please all the people all the time. Now, today I do have a presentation for you, and I do want to invite you to have questions for me because I love addressing your questions. We'll definitely address any questions that you may have. And today's focus for our presentation and for our time here together are the strategies behind earning millions of dollars through your book and your related ventures. Now, this is something that is possible for absolutely everyone. Everyone can do this. Everyone can be earning millions, but there's a tiny, tiny fraction that are doing it. But as I said yesterday, the prerequisite for getting into this meaning creating success as an author, and I'm talking about earnings as well, really comes from desire. You must have that desire. The desire has to be there, and that's where your passion is. Now, many authors, and this is one of the things that I love about working with authors, many authors that I've worked with and been blessed to serve over the years are very passionate about their messages, whether they are writing a children's book or whether they're writing a self-help book or whether they are writing fiction books. Either way, they have absolute passion for their work, and that's valuable. It's valuable for you. So even if you've written something, I saw Gareth Emery on here. He's a wonderful, prolific author. He's written a number of books, and you haven't experienced the success that you desire. It doesn't mean that it's not available for you or that it's not forthcoming. There are, some authors that had released their books many, many years ago, and it took sometimes years. I remember talking to one of my clients who told me that it was their 32nd book that actually was the one that really hit the big times. And this was an author who landed on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I've had actually a number of my clients get on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And that was definitely a wonderful accomplishment and a great way to sell a lot more books. So publicity is absolutely one way. So to acquire riches, you must first feel prosperous. Yesterday, we had talked about the importance of mindset. Mindset is absolutely something I've been studying for almost a half a century. It's what I know is essential for success, whether you're an author, entrepreneur, athlete, singer, actor, whatever endeavor you're involved with in the world. You have to have the mindset of already being a successful person. So since we're here talking about being an author, and if you choose to be a successful author and you have created the clarity around what does that really look like? What does that look like? This is important for you authors. I know some authors' objectives are to get their book done, but we don't want to just get our books done for the sake of getting your book done. You want to get your book done because you want to get it into the hands of those that are going to benefit from it the most, and those are the readers. And so you have to believe that what you have is something that people would love and want and tell their friends about. And the same thing with acquiring riches. You first have to believe that you are worthy of the riches. And if there's a belief there within you right now, a limiting belief, then you have to replace it with a more empowering belief. But majority of people on this planet, and we know by results, are struggling financially, and they're struggling financially because they don't believe that it's possible for them. Or here's a big one, they don't know how. They don't know how. But the greatest lesson that I've learned out of the many decades that I've been studying success is you don't have to know how. You absolutely don't have to know how. When you are in harmony, which means you're feeling as if you're already the successful author that you are, you will think of the ideas. You will find ways, and the way will be presented to you. So if some of you have been in a financial struggling situation, and perhaps the area of belief that could be improved upon is a belief that you deserve to be rich, and recognizing there is an abundance in the world, there's plenty for everyone, and adopting that as a new belief, you will attract riches into your life. You absolutely will. I remember hearing the story about the speaker who went on stage, and he went onto the stage with a handful of a fan of money, and he got onto the stage and he had all these bills in his hand. I'm just going to try and show you what he did. And he had all these bills in his hand like this, and he walked on stage and he just started going, "I love money. I love money." And he asked the audience, he said, "How many of you were repulsed by that? Just felt really uncomfortable with what I was doing on stage?" And of course, many hands were raised. And what he said was that money is energy. Like, this is energy. Well, this is fake money, but in my mind, it could be real money, and then it's energy, right? So we can create that in our consciousness. And so because it's energy, it goes where it's loved and it stays where it's appreciated. So do you appreciate what you already have? There was a book released about a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, by a young woman in South Korea. And it's a book called The Having. And she wrote this book because one of the things that she teaches people, and she works with many wealthy people, is that you attract more in your life when you're grateful for what you already have. And that's the basis of the book. But it's really inviting in an emotion. And the emotion that you're inviting is an emotion of being thankful, of being grateful, and really having that in your heart, like really feeling grateful for what you have. Because when you're in good energy, you attract more good. When you're in bad energy, you attract more bad. When you're in lack energy, you attract more lack. When you're in rich energy or wealth energy, you attract more wealth. So you want to really love and appreciate, even if someone else has it, love and appreciate that they have it, and you will attract more to you. And what does this have to do with being a successful author? Everything. It has everything to do with being a successful author, having that right mindset. So the most obvious places where authors earn money is from book sales. And nowadays, it's so much easier to create books in multiple formats: paperback, hardcover, Kindle, audio, large print, or just an ebook, as the one that I just shared with you guys a little while ago. The $1 Million Author Blueprint is an ebook. Now, that's something that we can use in our business to give away. We can give it away on social media. We can create a page on our website where people come and they can enter in their name and email address, and they can get a copy of that book. We could create a sales funnel where people will come and get their free gift. And then there's a sequence of emails that go out that encourage them and maybe inspire them and add more information and highlight perhaps some of the value that was written in that ebook. And it may even invite them to invest in themselves and join a program of some sort. So those are not necessarily the obvious places where people earn, but it's definitely an opportunity for anyone. And what I did yesterday with making a decision to create that ebook and then to have it designed and have it available in under 24 hours, anyone can do. Anyone can do. Have you heard the term necessity is the mother of invention? Sometimes when I'm working with clients who have a desire to attract a certain amount of money in a relatively short period of time, I'll tell them it's very doable. What you have to do is get in harmony with that and approach it from a perspective of, what do you, because everyone here has this, what do you have of value that you could share with the world? Yesterday, we had 80 come on, and she was very kind to share a little bit about her journey of making a decision to write her book. And she got on with the work, and now her book is completed. And this would have never happened if she hadn't taken action and she hadn't moved forward. And so, when I think about this opportunity, for everyone, and we're talking about authors or individuals who simply have a desire to attract money or earn money. You think from a place of value. What do I have of value that I can bring to the world? So I mentioned 80 because 80 is a very successful entrepreneur. She has built a very successful business. And it was kind of like not the best environment for her to do it, but she took charge anyways. It's like you go for it anyway. She may have been fearful, didn't really understand everything about running a business, but she understood enough about being of service and servicing clients and taking care of them. So she took the next right step. And so she often talks about that. And she's very great on giving other people's advice as well. And I was saying to her last week, I said, well, I'm seeing another nonfiction book here because she has something of value. Every one of you has something of value, whether it's a story that you have to share or whether it's an experience that you've gone through, whether it is something that you have studied yourself and you're very passionate about, and something that's important to you may be important to someone else. It may be something that might uplift another. I was on Facebook a little while ago, and one of my graduating clients who I had told years ago, this is a young woman who lives here in the city of Ottawa. And I had told her years ago, anyone can become a millionaire. The prerequisite is desire. So that's easy because everybody has the desire. And at first, she didn't really believe it, but she decided to accept it as an idea for herself. And she did it. She went on to become a millionaire. She wrote a book as well. And she was also a single parent. And one of the things that she did was she used these principles to attract her soulmate into her life. And I noticed that now she's created programs and coaching around that subject area of attracting her soulmate. Why? Because it was an area that she was interested in, because she had success in that area, but also, and this is more important, she recognized that there was a need in the marketplace. People want that. So what area of expertise do you have? What experiences have you gone through that might be of value to another? Or you could put in a story. When I think about the Savvy Wisdom series, which I mentioned yesterday on my bookshelf, the second book in that series, the whole series is based on my life and meeting Bob Proctor. But I wrote it as a fiction book as this young girl who was suicidal, who went to the park. Her intention was to end her life. And then she unexpectedly meets this gentleman, this elderly gentleman who becomes her friend and her mentor. Now, I didn't meet Bob Proctor in a park sitting on a bench, but I met him kind of unexpectedly, and his wisdom did change my life. So that's what it was based on. But the second book in this series, I didn't plan on writing book 2 or book 3 when I wrote the first one. But the second book came out of an experience that I had gone through in 2021 when I went through some treatment for cancer. And it was quite a horrific experience. It was the most challenging experience of my life. And I wrote about it. And I wrote about it from the perspective of this is what the character Sophie had gone through. And if any of you have read Savvy Wisdom 2, it's almost verbatim what I went through. And of course, I could write about it because it was very personal to me. It was a little hard writing about it, to be honest, because I started writing it after I'd gotten out of the hospital. So it was a little bit challenging situation. But nonetheless, you write to your reader. Every one of you, every author, whether you're considering being an author or you're already an author, you're writing for your reader. You're writing something and thinking about them. It's like when Kayla was talking about her new book that she just wrote, which is based on a series that she's created called What a Mess Kid. And I'll pull the first one off my bookshelf here so you can see it. So this is her book. It's called What a Mess Kid. Anyone that has a child or knows of a child, you can certainly grab yourself a copy of this book. And she was telling me that as she was working on the book on the airplane, she's writing the next book called Laundry Tsunami, which is very appropriate. Anyone that has kids, you can probably relate to that. And she was telling me that one of the things that she was thinking of when she was writing it is that she didn't want to write it with the assumption that the mother left the child in the laundry room to just manage all the washing machine, because that just wouldn't happen. And so she's thinking like the reader. Who's the reader? The mom. right? And that's what you must do as a writer. So when I was writing Savvy Wisdom, and Kayla had talked about this just before we started, I go free flow. And there's two types of writers. There's free flow writers who just allow the information to come and you just type as it's, flowing through you. And then there are writers that are doing outlines and they create a very detailed outline, whether they're writing fiction or nonfiction, it's still the same thing. They're writing all their characters, the plot, the scenes, etc. If it's nonfiction, you're doing an outline like I did with that book that I'm giving to you, did the outline first, and then I created the content. And so I'm more free flow. But every time I sat down to write a chapter, I would think from a perspective of, I want to really grab my reader's attention. You got to bring them in, you got to hold their attention. And when you get to the end of the chapter, you want them to read on, not stop reading. You want to cause a challenge so that when they're reading the book, that they're like pissed off at you because they can't stop reading, right? Which is a good problem to have. In fact, that's what happened when Bob Proctor read Savvy Wisdom. Somebody asked me yesterday, did Bob Proctor read the Savvy Wisdom series? Well, he wasn't around for Savvy Wisdom from Beyond, but he did read the first two, except the ending of the second one. Anyways, when he was given a copy of the first book, Savvy Wisdom, in order for him to write the letter at the end of the book from Savvy to Sophie, I sent it to him on a Monday morning, and he sent me a text on Tuesday morning, and he said, "I'm mad at you." And I said, "Okay, what did I do?" And he said, "You kept me up all night." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said he got back to his room around 9:45. He had a busy day, and Gina had printed a copy of the book, and he knew he had to read it. And he started reading it. He was feeling tired, didn't feel like reading. He started reading it, and he said, "I couldn't stop." And so that's what you want for your readers. You want people to be in love with your content and really grabbing it. Now, how do you know? How do you know if they're going to love it or not? Well, you don't necessarily know, except use your own judgment, use your own common sense. So where authors are earning money are when books are placed into multiple formats. Savvy Wisdom, in fact, is in multiple formats: hardcover, trade paperback, it's in Kindle, it's in audio, it's in large, well, it's not in large print, but I do have some other books that are in large print. It's another version or division. And then advances can come from publishers. I've received many advances. Just received an advance last week from the publisher for my 24th and 25th book. And when you sell the rights to foreign publishers, advances are quite often paid as well. So these are the ways that, the common ways that authors are earning money. But what's great about that is that there's no end in sight. You could create another book, and then it could be in multiple formats, in multiple languages. Like when I think about some of my books, there's many sources of income that come into my bank account based on different formats as well. So that's obviously a possibility. But the opportunities to earn are truly endless. You could do like I did yesterday and write a book in a matter of hours. It's not a big book. It is only a 63-page book. But nonetheless, it's filled with a lot of great value, and who knows where it can go and what it could lead to. And you can certainly share it with others as well. I'd be happy if you did that and shared it with others. But what could be created as an extension of a book could be things like coaching or mentoring, downloadable audios that people pay for. They could be little meditations that you're selling. They could be just short audio clips that you're selling or offering. You could create programs or online courses. You could create an application. We have an application for the Power Life Script program. You could have events, either online or in-person events. You could create membership sites. I mean, these are just some of the ideas. And you could also use your book to promote these things as well. So if you look at the book that I created for you, and I'm going to show you the physical copy of it now. There we go. And we see that this book, starts with, there's 10 chapters in it. And in the very beginning, I talk about my own journey for as long as I can remember. I believe that one idea has the power to change a life, which I absolutely believe. But if you look here, whether it's a Skipping Levels program or Power Life Script, and we've got a number of different programs, these are what are called hyperlinks. And so if somebody sees that hyperlink, they'll click on it, right? They may want to check out, well, what is that all about? And then throughout the book, I use different examples. I tell stories of clients that I work with, and then I'll put a hyperlink in for the Epitome Author Program. And then if I'm talking about something else, another subject that's relevant to the author and what they can do, then I'll have another hyperlink for another program. Like if I was talking about the Mind Conditioning Accelerator program. And so throughout this book, see, there's one for Power Life Script. There's all these Epitome Author. There's all these little hyperlinks and skipping levels because I reference them in there, Mind Conditioning Accelerator. And at the end of the book, I decided this was sort of a last minute thought when I got to the end of the evening. I thought, well, I want to add a couple things at the end. I want to encourage people to take action because I know that the only reason why I'm sitting here and able to share how to create success is because I'm a real action taker. I move into action like lightning fast, as you can probably already tell. But at the back, we did a chapter like join the Epitome program. But this is like, what's your next step? This is your next step, and that is, what we suggest is joining the program, invest in yourself. And then because I had referenced all these different programs in the content, I decided to create a resources and programs page at the back of the book as well. And I had spoke about Your Destiny Switch as a book, the Savvy Wisdom series. So I put the links right in there so it's easy for people to find. And that's what you want to do as well. So if any of you are in business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, you have online programs, and you're not getting the traction that you want, or you're not getting the results that you want, this may be an idea for you to create something like that. And as you can see, it does not take years. You could create something that just has, a small amount of content. It doesn't have to be as long as this one. I've done many, many, many other ebooks that we've used as well as giveaways. Recently, I did one called The Instant Fix. And you can go to theinstantfix.com if you want to download that. And the idea behind that is that so many people get out of alignment. More often they're out of alignment than they're in alignment as far as what they want. And I thought, well, I want to give people these tools so that they can fix it, get out of the thinking and the feeling of not what you want and get over to the relaxed feeling and embrace the success that you already desire. And so I created this book called The Instant Fix. Now, another thing that I do is, and you don't have to do this, but I like doing this, is I will register the URL of the name of the book that I'm giving away. So if you look at billion dollar author blueprint.com, I registered that last night. So when I came up with a title, I went and looked online to see if the domain name was available. It was. Now, why do I do that? I also own the instantfix.com. The reason why I do that is because if you're standing on a stage and you're doing a speaking engagement, or you're doing a radio show or a podcast interview, or writing an article or whatever, and you want to encourage people to go over and download your book or opt in to get your book, because that puts them into your family, right? Like all of you guys are now in our family. And so we can serve them more. Not everybody's going to invest in themselves, but some will. And what could potentially happen is you're building relationships with these people. So if I'm on stage and I'm talking about the Million Dollar Author Blueprint, I could just say, okay, everyone, just go to milliondollarauthor.blueprint.com and you can download your copy right now, or go to theinstantfix.com right now and download the book. I do the same thing with our programs. Mind Conditioning Accelerator is mindconditioningaccelerator.com. Skipping Levels is skippinglevels.com. Now, they may not all be available, but I'll give you a little hint on how to use AI when you're thinking of names of your programs. What you can do is go into, if you have a Chat GPT account, you can go in there and say, I'm looking to create a new program, and give it some description. And I would love to have the domain name. And I always use .com, always .com. I don't get .org or anything else, just .com. But I'd also like to have the .com name. So please give me suggestions with available .com names as well. And that's what I ask. And then boom, it spits out the names. In fact, that's what I did last night for the Million Dollar Author Blueprint. Is I told it what I wanted to write, what I wanted to create, the content that would be in there, gave it some idea, and I said, what should I call it? And then bam, out came the Million Dollar Author Blueprint with the tagline. It came up with a subject line or a benefit line, a tagline as well, for the book. So these are just some of the ways that you can use AI to help you get clarity around different names that you would love, or domain names. So that's what I do from there. Everything that we've created in our business has always come from a place of, what do I believe would be valuable to the marketplace? This is how we create. We create based on, what do I feel that we have as a corporation that could help another? And so, skipping levels is based on, going from where you are to a whole new level, because I've done it, and I've done it again and again and again, and I want to help other people do it as well. Power Life Script, as an example, is a tool that I've used since 1995 that really has made the biggest difference in reprogramming my subconscious mind. And so these are where the ideas come from. The ideas usually come from when it's in the space of self-help or development or business or entrepreneurship, on areas that you've personally had a desire for. Maybe you couldn't find the information, or you've got enough knowledge and expertise now that you want to help another. And that's what my client from Ottawa did. Her name is Karen Allen, where she, had gone through a divorce and was on her own, wanted to attract someone in her life. And not only did she apply what she was learning, but then she decided, well, I'm going to pick this as a specific area to help people and give them some guidance on. And now that's revenue creation for her. And as I mentioned a moment ago, she emailed me to say, you told me I could do it. I've become a millionaire, and she actually did. So that's pretty wonderful. And what I love about it too is I'm sitting here in my home. It's actually a rather cool day here today. I've got a blanket on my lap. So I got the fireplace going in the corner, and I love being able to serve people, no matter whether you're Jackie G in New Zealand, or whether you're in the Mystic in India, or you're in Italy, or you're in Denver, Colorado, wherever you happen to be. It's wonderful that we can use this incredible thing called the internet to serve people, no matter where they are and no matter where you are. And so I said this yesterday very briefly, but what's happened with the world is, like, the borders have come down, right? The borders have come down. So there's no more restriction for you to bring your materials out to the world. And you know what's really cool with AI? You can actually have your materials translated into other languages and have it look like you're speaking German. And there's so many cool things that you can do with AI now. In fact, I learned of another new AI tool that is just being released, where you can create a twin of yourself, and you can upload a lot of knowledge, things that you've taught, courses that you've taught, things that you've done. And it could actually it could deliver a podcast. The twin is there as an AI being, or it's not a being, but an AI avatar, and it's speaking and communicating and can answer questions as well. It's like, woo, like we're talking like really wild and pretty cool. I know it scares a lot of people, but for me, I find it very exciting. Now, I know there are people in this world that'll use it for bad, but it's the same thing with electricity. There's people that use electricity for bad. There's people that use it for good. So it's just the way it is. How do you see it as well? Eva's saying, have you always been a writer, or were you a teacher? You are good at sharing it. Thank you, Eva. That's very kind as well. I became a writer in 2002, but I've been a teacher pretty much most of my adult life. I started teaching technology when I was 20 years of age, because I got into technology when I was very, very young, teaching people how to use word processors. And then when micros came around, I started the training division for a microcomputer division, the first company in Canada. And then when laptop technology came on, and then datacom and the internet and all of that, I've been teaching technology mostly for a long, long time. So is AI Translate better than Google Translate? I don't know whether it is or not, but what I see with AI that's possible is, and I don't think Google does this, but what AI can do is it can actually have you look like you're speaking in that language. So if you had a course that was really, really popular. Now, the thing to keep in mind, I want everyone to understand this is like, I have not done this. I have not done this. I've not gone off to teach anything in another language. Could I? Yeah, possibly. But I often look at what's the marketplace for that as well. English is the number one language in the world. It's the number online. And so this is where your bigger marketplace is. What's the next language? Chinese, right? But could my programs be translated into Chinese? Sure. Could it look like I'm speaking Chinese using AI resources or tools? Yes. But I haven't done it. I have not personally done it. I've seen it. I've seen it in my research when I'm doing the research on what AI can do, but I have not personally engaged in using it at all. But it's fascinating as well what you can do. If you have a book, what's this say? There we go. If you have a book would make a great inspired animated movie, who do you reach out to query? Is it like publishing? Do you have any tips? Yeah, tomorrow we're talking about that. Tomorrow's all about having books made into movies or docuseries or a series of any kind. Today we're going to talk about the money earning side of that as well. So we'll get to that definitely tomorrow, and that'll be a lot of fun. Okay, so why I mentioned this and the importance of, the comfort of your home is I, began my internet website and went online in 1995. I was a single mom with a young son, and I did not have any desire to be vacant from my son's life. My priority is and always has been being a mom. And so I wanted to find a way to do my business, Dynamic Destinies, and build it and grow it. But at the same time, do it from the comfort of my home. So I was one of the early adopters to marketing online, which I'm very grateful for. And I'm grateful for the experience and the knowledge and the understanding of what's there. But it's true that you could create a program like an Evergreen program, and you'll read about that in the book that I wrote for you last night. You could actually create what's called an Evergreen program. What's an Evergreen program? It's a program that never goes out of date. It's not timely. In other words, if I did a program today on, let's say, Facebook and how to use Facebook, it could be out of date by November the 1st. I mean, I'm being funny, but if anyone's used Facebook, or let's say it was Facebook advertising, I mean, they're constantly changing it. They're updating and making enhancements and things like that. But if your program is like what I teach with the mind conditioning accelerator or power life script or skipping levels, that's never going to go out of date. That's timeless materials. So you could create programs that are self-study programs that people are learning and accessing online that don't necessarily require you to be there. You see, I like to create programs the way I like to take programs, because if I'm taking a program, I want it right away. I want to dive in. I want all the materials. And if somebody takes, weeks to get through it, that's fine. But I'm usually on the fast-paced program. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now for my doctorate program. They told me how long it normally takes for people to go through the first part. And I didn't accept that. It was like, I'm going to go through it at my own pace, and went through it like lightning speed. And so because I know there are people that like that, but then there's others, it's not that one's better than the other. There's others that want to digest the information and take their time with the information. And, maybe they're very, very, very busy lives, and they simply want to do a class a week. And so they can study at their own pace. And so you can decide whether you're doing your programs live, whether you're doing them pre-recorded, whether you're going to have access to you or not through Q&A, or whether it's just they're on their own when they get into the program. It's something that you can do. But where are the additional money earning opportunities for authors adapting a book into a movie? We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Getting affiliates, either you having affiliates that are promoting your programs. We could also call them sales agents, or whether you're promoting other people's programs. I remember meeting an author at a Hay House event a number of years ago, and this was a gentleman that I had never heard of before, and he became a Hay House author. And so I was curious, I had a lot of the Hay House authors as clients, and this gentleman I never heard of before, didn't know who he was, didn't know if he was a speaker. And so I started chatting with him, and he was a blogger, but he had a very popular blog and had hundreds of thousands of readers. And so I said, well, how do you make money? How do you monetize that? You're a blogger, but just became an author. It was his first book. And he said, here's what he did. He used to evaluate other people's programs and then he would blog about it. And let's say he came on our Skipping Levels program and he was blogging about it and writing about it, and he wanted to recommend it, he could become an affiliate. And then he would earn money from these links that he would put in his blogs. So he wasn't out there like as a salesperson or speaking on stages or anything like that. He was just somebody who was very passionate about personal development, and he studied all these other different teachers and speakers, loved their materials, wanted to share the highlights and the best gold nuggets of wisdom from these programs, and people loved it. It's like the condensed version of a long program, right? Like, remember Cole's Notes, if you remember those for the Canadians, and I forget what they called them in the United States. It's like synopsis. And so that's what he did. And this is how he grew his blog. And he wasn't earning money from it. So he thought, well, if I'm going to be recommending particular programs, I'm going to sign up as an affiliate, put my affiliate link in there. And he declared that, yes, I'm an affiliate for this particular program. And if you sign up, I will be compensated. And that's fine. I mean, that was part of a new rule that had come out of the internet. And he earned hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing a blog. Okay. Who can do that? Anyone can do that. Anyone can do that. Now, why would anyone want to read the blog? Because what I just said, it's condensed versions. It's saving people a tremendous amount of time. So this is why I started today and I started yesterday with the mindset, because when you're thinking as a wealthy author, you're already thinking that way. Ideas are going to pop in your mind like boom, boom, boom. You're going to get ideas, but you also have to act on them. It's very important that you act on them. You take action, just like I did last night. Did I feel like writing a book last night? Absolutely not. I was tired. I was sitting in my sweats. I was like, ugh, do I really feel like doing this? And I thought, well, obviously that attitude isn't going to produce anything great, right? Like, I'm just telling you, this is the reality of it, right? I practice what I teach as well. And I just said to myself, well, what do I need to believe in order to write a great ebook that I can give away to everyone tomorrow? Well, I need to believe that I'm going to give them some great content. So I just got on with the work. And it was like a momentum that started. I know Roddy had talked about momentum before we started today. It was like a momentum that started that I was just like, wow, by the end of the evening, I was like on fire. It's like I didn't want to go to bed at that point because I was feeling so invigorated from what I did. So I entered into the spirit of writing something great. So when you're thinking as a person that has already attracted to you the money that you desire, the wealth that you desire, you will get ideas. Okay. You got to have faith in that. And don't be frustrated by it and go like, oh, I don't have an idea. Like, I'm listening to her talk about all these ideas and what people have done. And I'm going to share with you a whole bunch more. Just when you're open to the ideas, it's going to float right in. It's going to float right into your consciousness. And I want you to do what Earl Nightingale used to say is stab it with a fork, right? Or stab it with a pen and move on it. Move on that idea as soon as the idea comes into your consciousness so that you can, get it out there in the world as well. So you could do partnering with other people. And I'll show you an example of that in a moment. Perhaps licensing. I had one of my clients who was getting up there in years and she wanted to retire, but she had all this great content and programs that she had created. And I said, offer it as a license, get other people to teach it. You could sell it. And so she did. And she created a bundle and she started selling it for $45,000. $45,000. It was another revenue source for her. Or you can create additional products, journals, workbooks, guidebooks. I have a client that recently wrote a book and she created a journal to go with it. That's another source of income. So you may be able to come up with some additional ideas as well. I like to do simple math. Like if we think about, okay, I want to generate $1 million in sales. Okay, well, there's 6 billion people online that you have access to. Large majority are English speaking, but now because of AI and the tools that we have, you can reach everyone in any language. But let's say you created a $200 product. All you need to do is find 5,000 people to buy it, and then boom, you've earned $1 million. Or you have a $500 product, you sell 2,000 people, there's $1 million. Or a $1,000 product, you sell 1,000 people, that's $1 million. $2,000 products sell 500. Well, you get the idea, right? Like, not that complicated to do it, but this is where you get in harmony with different ideas. In fact, that's where making $1 million look small came from, when I was very blessed to work with Bob Proctor, Mary Morrissey, and Gay Hendricks, who are wonderful, incredible teachers. Now, Bob's passed from this earthly plane, but I always felt that Bob Proctor was the greatest male teacher in the world, and Mary Morrissey was the greatest female teacher in the world. Both extraordinary beings, love them both, have so much respect for them both. And I was chatting with Bob one day, and I told him about this house that I was looking at. It was $1 million more than the one we're in. And he goes, well, just make $1 million look small. And I had been working on a new program at the time. And he said, just sell 1,000 of your $1,000 programs. Like, bam, there's $1 million. And that's where the idea for making $1 million look small came from. And it just expanded, and ended up working with Gay Hendricks, who was a client of mine. He wrote The Big Leap, a wonderful man. And then I was at an event in Arizona, and Mary was there, and she said, what are you working on, Peg? And I told her about making $1 million look small. She goes, oh, I want in. I want to do that with you. And I was thinking in my mind, I would love to work with Mary. And that's how that came to be. And then I decided to call Bob because I thought it would make more sense to bring Bob in. So my husband used to call us the Beatles because there were 4 of us, which was very cute. And we ran that program for a number of years, and we served people from all over the world, which was a wonderful thing. Learned a lot, grew a lot, served a lot, really appreciated it. I still get emails from people that were part of that program. And it did generate multiple millions of dollars in revenue from one idea. And all 4 of us were still running our own business at the time. So I want to show you some results really to help spark some ideas within you. And if any of you get an idea while you're on here, share it with us. Love to hear about it. So I want to show you some things. Maybe some of you have seen these before in other presentations that I've done. That's okay. Just pay attention and stay open to ideas as they come to you. Okay. Now here's Dr. Yussi. He's a lovely gentleman that I was blessed to serve in both my Skipping Levels program, and he joined private mentoring, and he wrote a book, and he had released it, and I explained to him how he could extend beyond that book into other sources. And so if you look at the numbers on the screen, you'll see that the majority of the revenue that Dr. Yussi created came from his programs as well. And this was just going back a few years, but not that long ago. But that was something that he had created after he had retired from being a medical doctor. He was actually a medical doctor. Deborah Sky King, a very spiritual lady, lovely lady who loves serving people. And she wanted to extend beyond her book. I gave her an idea that she ran with. I mean, she took action. And within a couple of weeks, she generated $113,000 in new revenue. Well, she said she did it in 3 days. I mean, we could sit here and do this all day long. Dr. Stacia Pierce, a very prolific author, has written many, many books. I started working with her, and I helped her just see opportunities that were already there. And within 3 months, she doubled her business, and she had a pretty darn good business going. You see, there's always room for more. There's always room for growth when you're ready for it and when you've accepted it as your outcome. I want to know if you have accepted that as your outcome. Are you guys ready for more? Are you ready for greater wealth in your life? Just type in the chat box. Let's get some feedback from you right now. Yes. Okay, good. Right on. All right, this is wonderful. Great attitude, guys. Okay, I see a couple of questions are coming in. Thank you, Roddy, for grabbing them. What says Victoria said, I have an idea to create a workbook for parents, teachers, and daycare, interactive theater games for fun. Love it. All right, great. Did that just come to you while you've been here? Oh, Eva says, I spend like a rich person already. Good. And you should. Now, you don't have to actually physically be out there spending the money. You could be doing it in your imagination, right? You could be doing that in your imagination. You can live as a wealthy person now in your imagination, and you will attract it. I mean, that's how powerful your mind is. So I'm grateful that you're all ready for this, because that is very important. You have to be ready for a thing in order for you to accept it. That's part of Napoleon Hill's teaching from Think and Grow Rich. I was blessed to serve Nancy Tillman, a children's book author. She joined my author program, and she was shipping the books from her own home. She had self-published the book. And I remember chatting with her one day, and I asked her, I said, how many books have you sold already? And she told me that she had sold 40,000 books. And I nearly fell off my chair. It's like, what? Like, that is extraordinary. It was a self-published book. She had promoted it herself through my program. She learned how to market her book, and she started promoting her book, and she had sold 40,000 copies. Pretty extraordinary. Now, her book's pretty darn good. If you've ever read On the Night You Were Born, some of you probably have that book on your bookshelf already. And I introduced her to my literary agent, who signed on to work with her. And the first advance that she received was for $250,000, but she's gone on to sell more than 5 million copies. Now, just imagine she's earning maybe a couple bucks per book. Now, that was a few years ago that Kathy told me she had already sold 5 million. You see, that's another thing that can happen with your books is you create momentum, right? That they just get out there and they reach what Malcolm Gladwell calls the tipping point, and then it just keeps selling and selling and selling and selling. People talk about it. More people have a copy of the book. They love the book. They want to tell their friends or buy a copy for people that they know. So there's a very wealthy children's book author. Marie Forio was a client of mine. She went through my author program, and I remember meeting with her privately, and she said, I want to coach women. And she was young at the time, and she was concerned that she looked young and had her photos doctored up to make her look a little older. And she just got out there, felt the fear, but went out there and did it anyway. And she's created phenomenal success as an entrepreneur and as a coach as well through her programs. Jennifer McLean, another lovely woman that I was blessed to serve. She was more interested in healing concepts. She had lost her sister at a young age, and she wanted to create a summit where she'd invited different speakers to come onto this. And then at the end of the interview that she did with all these experts, each one of them would offer a program. I was part of her summit as well. And what the instructions that she gave for people that she was interviewing is, could you create a $97 offer that we could offer to our viewers or listeners at the end of the interview? And are you willing to share the revenue? And I said, yes. And she ended up earning over $1 million just for herself as a result of doing this one idea. Elle Newmark, it's actually not Newman, Elle Newmark was a first-time author, was frustrated because she wasn't getting results. But what's important about Elle is she decided to invest in learning how to create success as an author, and then she took action. She was barely able to use a computer. She was not technologically savvy at all, which is fine, but she knew how to use email, and she created a special offer, and she put her book out there in the world, made it a bestseller, and then contacted literary agents. And her literary agent loved her book and put it up for auction. And she received, within 2 weeks of launching her book, she received $2.475 million in advances from 2 different publishers for the rights for her book. Why 2 different? One was in English language, one was in German. That's why. So 2.4 million from the English publisher and 75,000 from a German publisher, all within 2 weeks of launching her book. Using the strategies that I teach. Now, this is not one of my clients, E.L. James, but why I like to share her story is sometimes people think they're not a great writer. Well, E.L. James, Erica is her real name, was highly criticized for her writing. And yet, in her first year, she earned $95 million. That was the most an author has ever earned within a period of 1 year of launching their first book, $95 million. Why I'm sharing these with you is because I want you to know it's possible. I want you to wrap your head around it. I want you to set some goals for yourself that are so big and exhilarating that perhaps they even scare and excite you at the same time. But if E.L. James or Erica can do it, so can you. This is another lady, Carol Abramson, not my client, but someone that I'm aware of, wrote a book called Not 3, but 21, a very unique niche market book. She gave her book away. She only gave away 100 copies, but similar to what I shared with you with that $1 Million Author Blueprint book, There were recommendations in there. She was talking about clients that she would work with, and she ended up getting clients and earned $2 million as a result of people hiring her after reading her book. You see, this is part of the credibility that you earn when you write about a particular subject that maybe you're an expert in, or you've decided to become an expert in, and it's just an instant credibility. I remember Bob Proctor, when he'd be introducing me at his events, he would say, even if your book is garbage or it's not written well, won't matter. People will still assume that you're an expert because you've released a book. But I suggest write a good quality book. And Nick Sungel is an internet marketer. He's very savvy in internet marketing, but he had never done a book. So he reached out to me and asked me for guidance on creating his book and launching it. And so he did a very unique launch where he got partners on board to help promote it. But the book was also a lead generator for a program that he was offering for internet marketing. And as a result of launching the book, he generated $11.9 million within a 2-week period. He's probably done more than that since then. I know there's other people that have done a lot more since, as well. So these are just examples of people that have, taken an idea and moved into action. So if we look at what are the common characteristics of those examples that I'm using here, for me, it's probably really obvious to you what these common characteristics are, but if you are willing to type in a couple words on the right-hand side, what do you think are the common characteristics of the people that have created success? The ones that, yes, Kim, you're right, took action. Speed, absolutely, Neka, I like that one. Action, yes. So yeah, they just did it, Tammy, you're right. Creativity, for sure, Manuela, that's absolutely right. Tenacious, I like that, Nancy. And Nancy, you can relate to that one as well. Focus as well. Absolutely. Belief. Yeah, belief in their ability. And maybe they didn't even have the belief at the time, but they chose to buy into it. Never giving up. I love that, Vladdy. That's so true and so good. Never giving up. Having Peggy as a mentor. Phil, I like the way you think. Some of them did, but some of them didn't. But that's very kind of you to say so. But they did decide, Donna, you're right. They took the action. And maybe they failed, right? But they took action again. And that's the thing. Like when I look around the Zoom room and I see faces on here of authors that I know you released your book maybe years ago, but it's not too late. The book's still out there. It's still very valid. You could still re-engage and do something today. Maybe you'll get sparked with an idea while you're here that might prompt you to move into action and do something. Open-minded, Tom says. Yes, definitely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I like what Kim wrote as well, surrounded with the right people. It's like that quote, put yourself in the environment that's conducive for success. How important is that? Right? To put yourself in the environment that's conducive for success, surrounding yourself with like-minded people or people that are there for you, supporting you. That's why I love working with our authors so much, is that we're all for each other. In fact, 80, when she had her manuscript done, she started asking people if they would be willing to do an endorsement, and she moved into action real fast. In fact, she sent me a text one evening and she said, I have a big ask. And I said, sure, what is it? And she said, I'd like you to endorse my book, even though I hadn't read it yet, but I knew what it was. I know her story. And when I got a copy of it on Sunday, there's pages of endorsements here. And I know she met some of these people, many of these people, through our relationship together, whether it's through programs or whether it's through people she's met in the programs as well. So this is part of being in a community that really supports you in the achievement of your desires. It's 2 minutes to 3. Are you guys willing to go a little over time? I have not finished my slides yet. Yes? Okay, let's keep going. I had a feeling it was going to be a challenge getting through all this in an hour. Okay. Now, we have a lot of people that, this opportunity is available for anyone. I mean, you can fog a mirror, you can get into this, but there are many people that are just missing out. I think about, when I got online in the first place and started marketing my books, and I had people calling me like Robin Sharma going, what are you doing? And this is why Marianne Williamson became a client, and Neil Donald Walsh and Greg Braden. And they're like, I don't know how to do what you're doing. And would you please help me? Because they were just but they didn't have their head in the sand. But the thing is, a lot of people do have their head in the sand and they think that, that it's all about struggle. It's not. You don't have to struggle. There's no reason to struggle. You can make it easier for yourself. You can get into momentum and you can relax and attract more good into your life while you're enjoying what you're doing, loving what you do. Getting up every day, just feeling so blessed to be serving people in such powerful and positive ways. And like really creating your own economy. I love Bob used to talk about that often. And that's what I've done. Barely made it through high school, but yet here I am, creating my own economy and in the top 1%, actually a fraction of the 1% income earners in the world, just following my passion and focusing on being of service and bringing something of value to the world and always focusing on improvement and how can I do it better? How can I serve better than I did yesterday? And it's really a mentality that you create, that you adopt and accept as your own. And you find that you're in a place where it's like, wow, how did I get here? And it's from all those things that you guys wrote in the chat box a few minutes ago. And I think about it this way. I think this image is so beautiful. It's like there's a world of opportunity that you can literally hold in your hands. And that's why I feel so blessed to have this thing called the internet and Zoom, where we can connect with people all over the world, just like you can with your books, with your programs, with your services, or whatever it is that you're offering. But really the only limit is your imagination, which, you can tap into at any time. We all have it. Maybe some people are using it a little bit better than other people, but when you tap into your imagination and you get in harmony with the feeling of what it feels like now that you've already created your success, you will attract everything requisite. I love this little video from Bob. I found this when I was preparing for today, and it's only a few seconds, but I want to share this with you because I think it's a very important message.
Don't work hard. Hard work is for other people. Get into something that's so fulfilling mentally that you wake up with it and you go to sleep with it and you love it.
Yeah. How many of you would love that, to go to sleep with it? You wake up with it and you just feels like so blessed, so blessed to do what you love. I love that little segment. That was at one of Bob's events that he did, the Matrix event. Maybe some of you were in the room. I know sometimes people recognize, oh, I'm in that room right there. I saw one of my clients in there in that video the other day when I was looking at it. But think about it, like it's not about working hard. I wrote a book called Darn Easy. It's really about the attitude that you have. Who was it that talked about attitude? It was either Kayla or Vladdy or Roddy had talked, I think it was Roddy had talked about the attitude that you have when you approach this, right? Like take a positive attitude, just decide to grab a hold of this and run with it. It doesn't matter how old you are or where you live in the world. I mean, we got people from all over the world. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. Even if you're not sure what the next step is, like take a step, get some guidance, perhaps register for some private mentoring and follow through. I love working with clients in the private mentoring capacity. In fact, Roddy will put the link up there so that you can see it. Maybe take a look at that if that's something that you would love to do. But even if you've tried and you failed in the past, I know there's some people that, they've tried some things and then they built a decision that it doesn't work for them. Well, that doesn't serve you. And that's not the truth either. It's absolutely not the truth. Anybody can create success online. Maybe it was just a slight tweak that was needed, or maybe an attitude adjustment, or maybe the offer wasn't quite right, or maybe the way it was presented wasn't done effectively. But either way, anybody can do this. You can absolutely do this. I want you to really embrace what the opportunity is for you. I love the William James quote because he said, believe and your belief will create the fact. And that's absolutely true. You got to believe. And if you don't have the belief now, you can build it. You can build it by continuing to connect with that outcome. So these are our action links to book a call with either Vladdy or Kayla. I know they've both been very busy meeting with people already. It's a discovery call to see, maybe which program's right for you or what would be the best fit or whether you're the right fit for us. Or if you're interested in mentorship, there's a couple spots available, first come, first serve, or you can join the Epitome Author Program and dive in right away and start studying the materials and putting them into action as well. There's a lot of content in there. I know some of you have already been with it as well. Thank you, Hande, for a very kind comment there. I really appreciate that. It is cool to hear Bob's voice, Pam. You're absolutely right. You know, when I heard about this cloning twin thing, and I was thinking like, oh my God, they could totally use this for Bob, right? And another thing that it'll do is, because it takes on the persona of the individual, whether they're living or they've passed, is because it's going to be available where you can ask it questions. So it's like you're looking at this twin of Bob that's there, and you say, hey, Bob, you know, I'm stuck on this. What would be your recommendations? Then it can, I'm sorry, there's some kind of request that came on my screen. He can actually answer it, and it sounds like his voice. What's the name of that program, Michelle? It is Twin Protocol. Twin Protocol. That's what it's called. Twin Protocol. I don't think it's out quite yet, but it's new. Okay, so the new book is at milliondollarauthor.blueprint.com. Now, Roddy is going to send out the link for you guys, so you'll have it in an email with the follow-up from today. He's also going to post it on the replay page, so you'll have access to it there, as well as the other links that we showed you and the other links that we've been sharing for you here. So all of that will be on the replay page. You already got it, Michelle. Well, there's a woman of action right there. But I did create the URL. I registered the URL. Roddy did the work of making it available for you to instantly download it at milliondollarauthor.blueprint.com. Type that in, go there now, and you'll be able to download it. How did I find a graphic designer to turn that book around in 12 hours? He's on Fiverr, Pam, and he charged me $150 to do that work. $150 to do the design, the cover, the interior. I wrote all the content. Like, amazing. I think it's amazing. I love Fiverr. I think Fiverr is amazing. I would like to sell my book once it's finished on Amazon. What's the best price to sell it? You price your book, and you'll see actually, Munsa, there's some suggestion in that Million Dollar Author Blueprint book about pricing as well. Like when you launch it, you can lower your price, but then price it relative to other books of that range as well. And Michelle's right. It'll give you a range as well, depending on the size of the book, the format of the book, etc. So it will give you a range as well. Okay, can one copyright what comes from yeah, absolutely. It's my content. Like what you're going to read there is my content. I can copyright protect that book for sure. Absolutely. Okay, Roddy had sent me a couple questions here that I'm going to get to. First one is, what does it mean to sell your rights? Kim's asking this question. So I'll give you a couple different examples here. This book here, I sold the rights to, but this one I did not. So what does it mean to sell the rights? So Hay House paid me in advance for this book, Your Destiny Switch. And that means that I write it, I submitted an edited version of the book, and they are essentially buying the rights to put their name on it, Hay House Publishing, as the author. Now, if I want to change it, I have to get their permission to change it, but they own the rights to the content. They could also, which they did, bring it out in different formats. So they brought the book out in paperback, they brought the book out in Audible, they brought the book out in, I don't know what other versions, paperback, hardcover. Well, this is a hardcover, I got the paperback as well. This book I own the rights to. It's copyright protected. And I will earn more money from selling this book than I will from selling that book because it's self-published. However, the reason why I went with the publisher is because it brought with it a family of other authors. It brought with it the opportunity to speak at their events. It brought with it the opportunity of having a radio show on their Hay House radio channel. And so those were other advantages. But when you sell the rights, it means you can't change it. You can't repurpose it. I couldn't take a chapter out of here and just give it away. I couldn't give away this book, but I could give away this one if I wanted to. And so those are just some of the reasons. Okay, Roddy, do you mind putting in the link in the chat box for the book, the download of the book? I know you're busy. He's a multitasking gentleman. He's busy gathering questions at the same time, but someone had asked for the link for that book. Okay, Tammy's asking the question, is it normal for reputable publishers to ask for a large sum of money to publish your book? Absolutely not. And I would be running in the opposite direction if somebody asked me to pay them to publish my book. No, absolutely not. If I own the rights and you're going to a company like Hasmark, which is my sister's company, where they're designing your cover, doing the interior, the layout, and all that work, well, sure, you pay for that, but you're owning the rights to the book. But if a publisher wants you to pay them, no, I would stay away from that for sure. Joanne, do you use a specific writing program to write your books? Nope, I use Word. I just go on Word and start typing. Is AI translate better? Oh yeah, we got that one already. Okay. What's been your experience for pre-publishing, upfront costs for book, for marketing, for planning in advance, for just curious of your experience? Don't really understand the question, Callie. What you're asking there, are you just talking about what did it cost me to publish a book? Well, it depends. They're all different. It depends on what I paid to have the cover design, what I paid for the interior design, what I paid for the uploading to Amazon if I did it myself. Like there's a lot of things that you can do yourself, and there's some things that you can use AI for now to help you as well. I mentioned that book that I shared with you earlier, the $1 Million Author Blueprint book. I paid the gentleman $150. But when I did the Instant Fix, which I referenced earlier, which is a book that's similar in size, he charged me $80. Now, the only reason why he charged me $150 last night is because I wanted it fast, fast, fast. So he probably would have done it in a couple of days, but because I wanted it before our call today, he charged me $150. So that's what I paid there. And, I found that depending on, who you're using and what you're doing, like nowadays we have AI. I would use AI for editing, but you can still have a professional editor because AI is not a human. And sometimes AI will miss certain things as well. And what you'll find when you're working with a really good editor is, and I noticed this with the editor that I hired for Savvy Wisdom series, and I wasn't using AI at the time anyways, it wasn't even available. But one of the things that she noticed was I had written about a particular character in the book. And then when Sophie, the main character, was getting married, she said, what happened to her best friend from high school? Why is she not at her wedding? And so what the editor does is she's, pulling the whole story together. And so she's thinking like a reader, and she's thinking, well, if I was a reader, I'd be wondering what's going on here and why that wasn't there. And so that's another great advantage of having an editor on board. But the editor's price, like there's no like necessarily one size fits all, because I've seen authors that are not great at writing, and that's okay because editors can clean that up. And so they may end up paying a little bit more because they need structural editing and maybe not just grammar or just some minor editing. They might need a little bit more editing to get the results that they're looking for. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question. We're going to call it a wrap, and we are back tomorrow. I'll definitely take questions tomorrow as well, and I'll be willing to go overtime. You can ask any questions tomorrow about anything that we use. The question is, do you recommend a font size to write in as you do your manuscript so it's easiest to edit and convert to print format? Michelle says she uses 12. I use 14 or 18 when I'm writing. And I do it that way because it's larger font and I just want to see it easier. So I write in, sometimes I'm writing in 18, but then when it's being, created to be put in a book, then it'll be in what's standard, which is 12 point font. All right. And I think that's it. Yes. All right, guys. Well, the time flew by. All right. Well, we really appreciate you guys being here. You're very welcome. I look forward to being back with you tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to get into more about the Hollywood experience and adapting books or series into. You're very welcome. Thank you for thanking me. I appreciate that. And we'll dive into that a little bit more tomorrow and any other questions that you have. So I really appreciate you guys. If you are ready to book a call with Vladdy and Kayla, they are ready to meet with you. There we go. Thank you for your lovely smile and wave, Kayla. I appreciate that. Both lovely ladies ready to serve, and you're very welcome. And I look forward to being back with you tomorrow. Thank you, guys.